Now on CoastTV News.
New details after police found a truck filled with guns on a Lewes Beach this morning. A Maryland man now facing multiple charges. Signal struggle. Poor service is frustrating some people in Ocean City, but the push for new cell towers is splitting the community. And President Trump's UN speech. Malfunctions pile up as Trump criticizes the United Nations and urges Ukraine and Europe into action.
And I'm watching for thunderstorms on Thursday coming up in your full forecast.
This is CoastTV News at 11.
A scary scene on Savannah Beach in Lewes this morning ends with a man arrested. Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm Christina D. Robertis. We begin with an update to a story we first told you about at 5 and 6. Lewes police say 30-year-old Alexander Gard of Maryland is now facing 11 gun and ammunition charges. That's after police say his truck was found stuck in the beach this morning with guns, other weapons, and hundreds of rounds of ammo. Police say Gard is homeless and had reported his truck stolen. It's still not clear if Gard drove the truck onto the beach or if it was in fact stolen. This whole situation, though, it's leading to a lot of panic for people.
It definitely doesn't normally happen in our area, but it seems like there are more and more scarier incidents occurring in our surrounding towns.
You just don't know. No matter where you're at, you always have to have your head on a swivel and be very alert.
And Cape Henlopen School District and Beebe Hospital, also the University of Delaware, were alerted of this situation. The school district let parents know the schools were on a secure status out of an abundance of caution. Now to Millsboro, where crews were working to retrieve and clean crab pots today. It's all part of a hands-on removal and training event, one that makes crabbing easier. It also can help marine life. Now, finding the crab pots, it's a little more complicated than you might expect. Crews actually had to use side-scan sonar to find those abandoned crab pots, fish them out of the water, and then haul them in for cleaning. We spoke with some UD grad students who were volunteering their time.
I think that's the nice part, is also seeing the actual work that you're doing, because a lot of times we're either mapping on software on our computers all day, and now we actually get to see the result of our hard work.
And crews today told CoastTV they try to do an event like this every year, and just in the last month they surveyed the Indian River area and found over 450 pots in the one area. But in the Delaware inland bays in total, that number may be closer to 30,000 crab pots. Now we are looking live outside into Lewes, and our First Alert Chief Meteorologist Paul Williams is going to join us now with a check on our forecast. Good evening, Paul.
Good evening, and right now we actually have concerns for rip currents. We have rip current statements. This has been extended until going into Wednesday night, actually, so we're concerned about rip currents there for Rehoboth Beach as well as Dewey Beach, and we have the same concern actually as we go down towards Fenwick Island. Now, we have allowed for the beach erosion, the beach statement to actually be allowed to expire. We've been tracking some scattered showers actually moving along with the trough that's just to our north and northwest. So we've had a couple of showers that have really kind of peppered the Delmarva Peninsula, the most northern portions of it, but not an immediate threat. And we have a couple of troughs that are in the way, but we'll have a high pressure system that's going to take over our weather for tomorrow. So we'll be quiet for tomorrow. But then Thursday, it gets a little messy because you see that line of red that you just saw jump across? That's Thursday. And that's why we're concerned about the possibility of thunderstorms. And so we're going to be under a yellow alert day for Thursday as we brace for some thunderstorms. I'll go into more detail with the timing of that coming up in a moment. Till then, back to you, Christina.
Thank you, Paul. Spotty signals and a split community in Ocean City's Montego Bay neighborhood. Neighbors there say dropped calls and dead zones are not just an inconvenience. They say they're an everyday headache. And an Ocean City Council member says the town has gotten complaints about cell service. Now some are pushing for new small cell towers, but not everyone agrees. Some neighbors are welcoming the idea of the cell towers. Others are worried about what it could mean for the neighborhood's look and feel.
They respected the overall aesthetics of our community with the 7-foot light poles in front of each property and that runway look on each of our streets. I think they could probably work this out.
Now, this debated topic will be brought up at next week's Ocean City work session. Meanwhile, at today's Sussex County Council meeting, an ordinance was introduced which would lighten some of the restrictions on marijuana retail stores opening within county limits. Currently, marijuana shops cannot open within 3 miles of a municipality. That distance would change to 2 miles under the ordinance. Also, marijuana shops are only allowed in C3 heavy commercial districts. The new rule would allow them in C2 medium commercial districts as well. But some folks we spoke to are not sure the restrictions should be loosened.
I'm kind of opposed to it just because it's just something that leads to other things.
And it's important to note some things would stay the same in the introduced ordinance. There would still be a 3-mile separation between pot shops and schools, churches, and other stores. That could change, though, as the ordinance still needs to go through public hearings and an eventual vote. Now to President Trump's scathing message to the United Nations and some allies during his speech at the UN today. As NBC's Garrett Hake reports, the president was also signaling a major shift involving the war in Ukraine, now calling on Ukraine to fight and win.
As President Trump arrived at the UN, the malfunctions piling up. The escalator stopping the moment he and the First Lady stepped on, and the teleprompter failing just as he started to speak.
These are the two things I got from the United Nations, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter.
All as he delivered a scathing message, arguing the UN has become irrelevant.
What is the purpose of the United Nations?
Saying they've failed to stop global conflicts.
All they seem to do is write a really strongly worded letter and then never follow that letter up. It's empty words, and empty words don't solve war. The only thing that solves war and wars is action.
And sending this warning to leaders in Western Europe.
Illegal aliens are pouring into Europe,
urging them to adopt his crackdown on illegal immigration.
It's time to end the failed experiment of open borders. You have to end it now. I can tell you. I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell.
But despite his criticism of the UN, the president's own efforts to end wars in Ukraine and in Gaza have largely stalled. But in a sudden shift, after this meeting with Ukraine's President Zelensky,
thanks to our soldiers, we have this possibility, this opportunity.
Tonight, President Trump urging Ukraine to expand the battlefield, after earlier warning they may have to concede territory for peace. Writing, I think Ukraine, with the support of the European Union, is in a position to fight and win all of Ukraine back in its original form.
The other side can fight too, and they've proven that. Maybe it could be that Russia's a paper tiger. Let them get their land back. Yep. So we'll see how it all works out.
Also calling for a strong response after recent Russian incursions.
Mr. President, do you think that NATO countries should shoot down Russian aircraft if they enter their airspace?
Yes, I do.
This praise tonight from President Zelensky.
Big shift. Big shift. This post of Trump, it's a big shift.
And after key allies, including France and Canada, announced their recognition of a Palestinian state,
Canada recognizes the state of Palestine.
President Trump condemning that move.
The rewards would be too great for Hamas terrorists for their atrocities. Instead of giving in to Hamas's ransom demands, those who want peace should be united with one message: release the hostages now.
And we are just getting started this evening. Still more news ahead, like peer pressure. Cambridge leaders want a new fishing pier, but what it'll take to make that happen. And in Ocean City, a tight squeeze. Why fast wheels have become a safety problem on the Route 50 bridge.
Here's a look at your Bay forecast. 86 and calm on Wednesday, but a bit thunderous on Thursday. We'll talk about that chance of thunderstorms and the exact timing of it in just 60 seconds. Wednesday is going to be the setup day for the thunderstorms that we expect and anticipate on Thursday. Now pay close attention when I go through the Thursday thing. I'm going to name towns and the exact time I'm expecting these thunderstorms to hit, because the models are trying to get wonky on us. But I think I figured out just how we should interpret them and use them in a moment. So first of all, in Ocean City, we can see the waves coming up there relatively gently at this point, and 73 degrees Ocean City. For the rest of the night, we're going to stay pretty clear, pretty cool as well. It's going to be a cool 70 degrees down to about 3 o'clock in the morning, we'll have a few clouds starting to stream in by then. Look for more cloud cover, generally speaking, for Wednesday. That's pretty much all that's going to happen on Wednesday. Maybe get a little breezy. Thursday is when things start kind of tanking a bit for us. Well, we're at 73 degrees in Bethany Beach, Indian River Inlet, Rehoboth Beach, but we're at 70 degrees in Georgetown, Milford, and 69 right now in Bridge Hill, 72 in Seaford. Now, we have rip current statements that have been reinitiated and now have extended to Wednesday. So that's I think it's probably going to end up extending it going into Thursday as well, because really it's Thursday when we're going to get the storm system in here. I don't know why they're playing around with this and just not just go ahead and say Thursday, but we follow the protocol because it's issued from the National Weather Service. Lewes, as well as Rehoboth Beach and Dewey Beach until Wednesday. So right now, everything is calm on the home front. And really what we're watching out for, it hasn't even really come into gestation just yet. We have a trough, which is relatively weak, followed by a high pressure system. And usually high pressure means calm and pristine weather, then another trough that follows behind it. So for our patio forecast, for example, this is where the high pressure system is in control. Here's what you get. We're looking at temperatures in the 80s and a good deal of sunshine, quiet weather. Wednesday, we're okay with winds out of the south and 86 degrees. A bit muggy on Wednesday, okay? Now let's talk Thursday, okay? Thursday by 1 o'clock in the afternoon, we're at 87, 86 degrees, setting us up for the right thermodynamics to let some things occur. And then we see that blob of red sweep through rather quickly during Thursday evening, and then we see spotty yellows, okay? We're going to be within that marginal zone with Thursday evening for the threat of severe weather. So let's try to time this a little bit more so. Now the model run is showing us at 7:30, we're looking for this line to hit Seaford. That's 2 hours from the earlier run. I didn't like it, okay? So it pushes through with some additional floaters that will go right along with it. So then I take a look at what's happening with the other one. And this line comes through at 8 o'clock in Milton, okay? Moisture coming out of the south, and then it pulls through, and then we have another reinitiating of another cell that pops in about Millsboro, and we have it reinitiating itself. So here's the bottom line. With this yellow day, I'm basically saying this. For most of us that tune in Sussex County, it's really between 6:30 and 8:30. That's the time frame that I'm watching out for these storms.
All
Perfect
right.
timing on the chimes.
6:30 and 8:30. Got it. Thank you, Paul. Well, the Ocean City Police Department says people are supposed to walk their bikes and electric scooters across the bridge, but many people are ignoring that rule. Coast TV spoke with people who use the walkway every day, and as Kevin Zapay reports, they say they constantly have to watch out for bikes and scooters zooming past.
The Route 50 bridge is essential for people getting to and from downtown Ocean City, whether that's by car or by foot. But according to local Rich Bell, who has been fishing on the Route 50 bridge for over 40 years, he's noticed more people riding bikes and electric scooters across the bridge.
If I'm leaning against the rail fishing and I just not paying attention, I just make a quick turn like this and they run into you, and you see them going by 20, 30 miles an hour. You know, the bikes are bad enough, but the scooters are really fast now.
On Monday, the Ocean City Police Department sent out a reminder telling people to walk their scooters and bikes when going across the bridge. And even with a sign in place, we saw dozens of bikes and electric scooters not following the rules.
There's more scooters than ever, whether it's mid-afternoon or middle of the night, and it's really dangerous.
So how dangerous can walking along the bridge be? We took out our measuring tape to find out. From handlebar to handlebar, this bike measures to 29 inches wide. But when taking a look at the bridge walkway, it's just 49 inches across, which means if a bike came through while you were walking on this bridge, that would only give you around 20 inches of space. And for some, that's too close for comfort. The Ocean City Police Department plans to continue educating the public and hand out fines if needed, something Bell is in favor of.
I just wouldn't mind seeing a little enforcement. I mean, you know, once in a while they come up here want to check my fishing license and stuff like that, so how about once in a while come up here and at least give out some warnings for a week maybe.
As the bridge remains a critical connection to Ocean City, police say they'll keep pushing for safety.
That was Kevin Zapay reporting. And by the way, Ocean City Police tell us if you violate that rule, you could face a $90 fine. And despite banning bikes or scooters on the Route 50 bridge, Ocean City plans to continue banning bikes on sidewalks. Starting October 1st, Maryland will allow bikes on sidewalks, but local officials say they plan to maintain restrictions in certain areas. Now, 2 areas being considered but not yet confirmed as possible zones include the west side of Philadelphia Avenue and the east side of Coastal Highway. This all brings us to our Coast TV poll because we want to know, how often do you see bikes or scooters on the Route 50 bridge? Looking at the results, 73% say all the time, 12% say sometimes, 3% say rarely, 12% also say never. And you can still vote if you go to coasttv.com or use our mobile app. Now we go to Cambridge, where a new fishing pier is needed, but it will be up to the state of Maryland to make it happen. Local leaders say they would like to replace the Bill Burton Fishing Pier. It's been closed down since 2022 for safety reasons, and it's now set to be demolished. But officials say the pier was and still could be an asset to the local community. So on Monday, they sent a letter to Maryland's Department of Natural Resources asking them to come out to Cambridge and build a brand new pier. Neighbors familiar with the area are hoping that happens.
I think it would definitely bring a lot more attraction to the Sailwind Park. As you see, like, this is a great day. When the weather is beautiful, this is a great day to come out, to just sit. A lot of people bring their children out here. It creates a space for people to go walking, bring fishing out here.
Now, DNR was not able to provide us with a timeline for demolition or construction of a new pier today, but the agency says it is fully committed to the project and will move forward when funds become available. Still ahead tonight, hunger numbers. A new U.S. Department of Agriculture decision is stirring controversy over how we track hunger in America. Well, the final edition of the U.S. Department of Agriculture's annual food security report comes out in about a month. But now, as Pepper Purpura reports, food bank leaders say the decision to end the decades-old National Food Insecurity Survey will harm people in need.
At an annual event focused on talking about hunger.
To really raise these community conversations around food insecurity.
A recent political move is dominating the conversation.
The USDA announced that they will no longer, after this year, publish numbers of those who are facing food insecurity across the United States.
In a press release on Sunday, the U.S. Department of Agriculture called an annual study on food insecurity redundant, costly, and politicized, and said the research and reports like it, quote, do nothing more than fearmonger. It went on to say the study, quote, failed to present anything more than subjective liberal fodder, and that food insecurity trends are virtually unchanged despite recent increases in SNAP spending. The decision comes as the Trump administration is pausing or canceling a slew of supports for food banks and changes to SNAP benefits. Changes Food Bank of Iowa CEO and President Tammy Nielsen says will have an unknown impact without the study.
What are the outcomes of these federal cuts? That is lost by not publishing the data.
Nielsen says the food bank did use the study to understand need in the region, but has alternatives to replace it, but says the choice is still hurtful.
Not counting them sends a message that they don't count.
Skill set, I would imagine so. Absolutely would imagine.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture says it will use other data sets to measure food security. As October approaches, it's time to think about Halloween and, of course, Halloween candy. For many consumers, there's nothing spookier than high prices for that candy, though. The National Retail Federation is expecting Americans to shell out a record-breaking $13.1 billion this Halloween. And a lot of that money will be spent on candy, which is getting more expensive. Supply chain experts say a spike in candy prices is largely because of climate-related issues. West Africa, which produces 70% of the world's cocoa, has been dealing with climate-driven declines in production.
Fortunately, the prices have gone up. And I think the main reason for them going up is, the critical ingredient in chocolates, which is cocoa, less amount of rain, which has affected the crops. There's also been a virus that has been going through that has affected production. If you compare year over year, which is probably the right way to think about it, the prices are up, and they're up by, double-digit percentages.
Now, Hershey's has announced they're going to actually raise prices soon. The good news is the company is going to wait until after Halloween to do that, but the bad news, after Halloween, Christmas, right around the corner. The U.S. also has a new top-selling beer, Michelob Ultra. It has overtaken previous leader Modelo in retail sales by volume. Officials at Anheuser-Busch say this boost was largely helped by the launch of their non-alcoholic Michelob Ultra Zero. Modelo's parent company said the Trump administration's immigration policies have also affected its sales among Latino consumers. Coming up in sports tonight, it's the heart of football season, and a coach of an undefeated team wants his players to look at the season as a whole before their next game. And coming up, a parasite problem, the insect behind a potentially deadly disease now spreading in the U.S.
This is CoastTV News at 11.
The Trump administration made a major announcement related to autism on Monday when it claimed the use of painkiller acetaminophen during pregnancy increases the risk of developmental disorders. But today we are hearing from more doctors who say there is no link between Tylenol and other acetaminophen products causing autism. Reporter Isabella Ladon has more.
For young families, having elected officials say acetaminophen is linked to autism can be overwhelming.
As a father, it weighs pretty heavily because you always wonder, with all of this extra noise, was there something that my wife and I did prenatal that may have caused this diagnosis?
Aaron Kirby is the president of Autism Society of the Heartland and a father of 2 kids with autism.
They're just like every other kid. They want to play, they want to be loved, and they want to live.
President Trump said pregnant women should not take acetaminophen, the only accepted drug they can take for fevers and pain relief.
That you feel you can't tough it out, you can't do it. I guess there's that.
Monday's announcement comes after a study from Mount Sinai claims there's an increased rate of autism in acetaminophen users. The study doesn't reference any new testing, but compiles previous publications' findings. It suggests women limit their use of the drug, while more research confirms the cause of autism.
We found a slight statistical increase in risk of autism and ADHD, but association is not causation.
President Trump said pregnant women should not take Tylenol at all, but offered no other alternatives for pain or fever relief.
A fever is, without a doubt, unsafe to have in pregnancy.
Dr. Mark Parrish referenced a 2024 study from JAMA, which claims there's no link between Tylenol and neurodivergent disorders.
We still believe that based on the best available evidence that this is the safest anti-pain medication that you can take during pregnancy.
Both experts agree consulting with your doctor on taking acetaminophen is the best course of action.
Based on the multitude of studies that have been performed, there's without a doubt no causal link between Tylenol and autism.
And sticking with health news, there's a parasitic illness the CDC says is now an endemic in the U.S. It's called Chagas disease. The parasite is spread by kissing bugs, and it can be life-threatening if left untreated. Experts estimate about 280,000 people in the U.S. may have it, many without knowing it. Early symptoms can be mild, but the disease can lead to serious heart and digestive problems.
If you wait too long, the effectiveness of the medications start to wear off because the parasite will eventually move out of the bloodstream and start to infect other organs and tissues in the body.
And the CDC says there are no drugs or vaccines to prevent the disease, so the best thing to do is limit contact with kissing bugs. You can take measures at home to prevent bug infestations like sealing cracks and gaps where the insects can get in.
The Delmarva Sports Network from the Wawa Studios.
It feels like the high school football season just got going, but really, we're getting into the heart of the 9 or 10 game regular season. And ahead of a game against Cambridge South Dorchester on Friday, Y-High head coach Matt McMurdo says he wants the Tribe to take a step back and look at the bigger picture.
I remind them of their goals.
You know what I mean? What goals have you set as a group for this season? What are the goals that you want? What did you set them? What do you say you want? And if they say that they want to play 11 more games of football, well, then they need to realize what that means, what 11 more weeks mean, like what that means for them. So if that's what you say you want, you better think about that, and you better look at everyone else around you, the second team guys, everybody else, because the 11 that are starting now might not be the 11 that are playing in October, in November.
A long season ahead, but this week it's Y-High and CSD. Kickoff is Friday at 6 o'clock on the Delmarva Sports Network. Pre-game coverage begins at 5 with Down and Distance and continues at 5:30 with the Scoops and Scores pregame show. And on our website's poll, it seems like you football fans have faith in the Tribe to win this week. But based on how close this matchup is historically, it should be a fun one. If you want to have your own impact on the results, don't worry, there's still plenty of time to vote. All you have to do is go to delmarvasportsnetwork.com to visit our website. From there, click the Features tab, and you'll scroll all the way down to the Sports Poll option where you can make your selection. You can also comment on our website and our social media pages at Delmarva Sports to let your voice be heard on who you think will win our Game of the Night coming up in just a few days. And fall isn't just for football, it's for marching band too. The Delmarva Sports Network has coverage of 6 marching band competitions featuring over a dozen schools from all across the peninsula. Last weekend was the first tournament we've covered this season. If you missed it, don't worry, because this weekend we have another. These competitions stream exclusively on DSN+. The music will continue playing this Saturday, so make sure to tune in. There's a lot of exciting coverage coming up on DSN this week, so make sure to tune in to everything. That'll do it for sports. Have a great night, folks.
Thank you so much for joining us here for Coast TV News at 11 tonight. The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon's up next. Have a great night.